I guess we can look at Shilonen now. Where is she? Shilonen's probably like here in co-op. Because all she gives is the shred. But other characters have good uptime on their own shred. So, yeah. But she does shred every element without requiring setup, so she's going to be pretty easy to play for multi-element teams. So she'll still see some play for sure. How are her normal attack talent values outside of skill? How bad would Pyro Shilonen be? It's not great. That's not great. Oh. Alright, other shredders, we have Zhongli. Zhongli's probably here. If you have C2, it's really nice. Because you get an actual AoE shield, but if you don't, he's kind of whatever. But it is an unconditional 20% shred, and you can go physical Zhongli, and it's not completely worthless in terms of damage, even if it's not very good. Are there any other shredders? Citlali. Right. Problem with Citlali is she can't give TTDS in co-op, so her weapon options become worse. And she doesn't gain that much from field time, because her normal attacks tickle. But she is probably better than Zhongli for teams that have Pyro and Hydro, because you got, what's it called? You got the Cinder City. Probably, like, here. Zhongli has Petra. Yeah, but it's a lot worse than Cinder City. You only buff one element at a time. And if you, and yeah, oh, it's worse for sure. See, Dolly can also be used for your application if you want. In some teams. Alright, any other shredders? No, right? I mean, technically there's Rosera C6, but no. That's fake. Does picking up a new Crystallize override Petra? Yup. Yes, it does. Technically syncs out. True. Lisa for Death Shred. The thing about Lisa is that she doesn't do any fucking damage. And the Death Shred is like 8% more DPS for your team. That's not a particularly large buff. So she's probably somewhere around here. Hakushin on Lisa would be good. I mean, it's worse than Verissa. If you want an Electro character to wear Hakushin Ring, 8% overall damage from the Lisa's Death Shred is going to be worse than the 40 damage percent from Cinder City. And also worse than the difference between 40% damage from Cinder City and whatever supports that Lisa's using. But then on top of that, Verissa actually deals damage, whereas Lisa doesn't. Do you think it'd be better to go for a DPS set on C6 Wanderer in co-op, or would VV still be better? C6 Wanderer probably DPS set. But I'm not sure. It depends on... Well, if your other characters are also C6, then it's definitely VV. But if they're not, I'm not sure. Where would Nilo be? I feel like Nilo's really dog shit in co-op. Nilo teams just ain't it, man. You do end up with more blooms, but like, considering it's single target content, yeah, it's definitely still going to be cooked. Now, Hideshi, Shilonen, and Kazuha Heike need to be bumped up at least one tier. Their support utility can be genuinely insane in co-op reactions. I don't really agree with that. Like, in the ranked stuff you guys do, you're giving cons to those characters, right? This is all C0 or 0 stuff. And the buffs you get from characters like Kazuha, for example, are just worse than the damage you'll get from using Shao instead. It's also worth noting that in 4-player teams instead of 3-player teams, EM buffs tend to become a bit worse because you generally don't have more than one character triggering reactions and benefiting from the EM buffs, which is half of your carries if you do 1 support 2 carries, but a third of your carries if you do 1 support 3 carries, right? Except Quicken, but Quicken isn't that good. C01 Shilonen could go up a tier, though. I mean, the problem is that she doesn't do anything, right? Like, she doesn't have any damage whatsoever. All she gives is the buff. And if that's what you want, there's so many characters that are just better at that. But maybe with R1 you could argue that she goes here. But that doesn't matter to me right now, because for now we're only looking at C0 or 0 stuff. It is true that support signatures are generally going to be more valuable in co-op than in single player, because your teams in co-op generally include less supports and more carries, which means that your buffs are less diluted. So all the buffs from support weapons are going to end up being more impactful. As long as they work. As long as they work. Let's not talk about Citlali's again co-op. Sarah does feel like a sneak if it's C0 or 0. Why? Oh, the 4 stars are not C0. Don't get. Oh, okay. Yeah, obviously, this is not C0 Sarah. This is C6 4 stars, C0 5 stars. The character I'm the least certain of here is probably Clay. If it's C6 4 stars, I think Aoife should be in the same tier as Sucrose. He's actually a character at C6. I don't know about that. Like, his constellations increase his damage a little bit. But, like, maybe the 80 EM from this is enough. Wait, no, I'm an idiot. This is not a team buff. Sorry, I'm stupid. Never mind, yeah, no. Because Aoife doesn't buff your team at all, right? Even at C6. He only buffs electrocharge damage, but you're not doing electrocharge damage in co-op. Are you not counting the healing / defensive utility characters bring? I think it's a bit less impactful because the best characters are healers. And no one's competing with them. How different would the tier list be if it was 2-player co-op versus 4-player? I mean, things would change a lot, but I mean, all the bow users would be a little bit worse. Characters like Bennett and Chevaliers would be even better. Baiju is kind of meh because his reaction buff only applies. Yeah, I know. It's so sad. Baiju would actually be good if it wasn't for that. If his buff applied to the whole team, I think he'd probably be as good as Nahida. But it doesn't. Saj. Thoughts about Tsingtao? Tsingtao probably goes here. He does gain something from being unfielded. EO requirements become pretty much nothing, and he gets to use Bennett buff. But he doesn't gain nearly as much as a lot of other characters do. Thoughts about Kokomi? Kokomi's not very good. She barely gains anything from co-op, and she already doesn't do that much. Better than Child, sure. Kachina. Kachina's pretty bad, huh? She gains, like, outright nothing from co-op, and all she provides for the team is scroll. Yeah, she probably goes here. Sorry. What's about Dory? The problem with Dory is that in single player, the biggest advantage of, like, on-field Dory is that you get a healer for Farina. But in co-op, Farina doesn't need a healer. So that's not really an upside anymore. Dory does have some separate advantages in co-op. The fact that her genie connects to all 4 characters means that her burst damage is effectively quadrupled. But it's so dog shit to begin with that it doesn't really matter. The fact that her burst connects to everyone also means that you get the bonus effects from the connection on your whole team. Right? The energy refund on your whole team and the healing on your whole team. Maybe you could do some cool stuff with self-infusion juggling with Bennett and Dory in co-op. But I'm pretty sure it's gonna end up being cooked. But we can test it real quick. Let me go put a waypoint. I'm gonna need people to join my world. I want to check how self-infusion functions. Exclamation mark UID, by the way. I want to check how the overload global ICD works. I have C6 Dory leveled. It doesn't even need to be C6 Dory. I just need a Bennett and a Dory. And many players on field. Dory only applies Electro to self every 3 seconds. Yeah, but it might still be like, it can be fine. Like, everyone come here, okay, and just stand inside the Bennett burst that Sploogie does, and do not attack, okay. Sploogie, just use your burst and that's it. Okay, this is pretty bad. It seems like it has the global ICD stuff. And then the damage itself is just really bad, so those projectiles give additional spreads. Yeah, but it's not a lot. Dory's ICD is cooked as fuck. I wonder if it's on HumDG Cat. It is, yeah. Like the burst ICD? Oh, they don't have it here. Fuck. Right. Internal cooldown Genshin. I think they have all the data for ICD here. Me when hitting more does literally nothing because Dory doesn't have a hit rule, only a time rule. Alright, what else do we have? We have characters like Hu Tao that are just outright, like, noticeably worse than the characters that actually benefit from co-op, like Linny, like Arlecchino. The fact that Hu Tao isn't Bennett reliant is nice, though. But, I mean, what would you do? Something like Hu Tao, Farina Neuvillette +1? Fine. I don't think Hu Tao even out damages Arlecchino there, anyways. Hu Tao downtime is kind of a problem. And Klee's probably just better. You can do shorter rotations than normal. Yeah, but it's still not... There's still annoying ass downtime. Yeah, I know, Andre, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't happen often enough. Arlecchino struggles more than Hu Tao in Farina teams. I don't think that's true. That might be 3-player bias. Because losing a third of your fanfare... Or sorry. Your fanfare going from 3 characters to 2 is a much bigger deal than going from 4 to 3. Farina still stacks fanfare really quick with 3 characters, but with 2 it's a little slow. But more importantly, Neuvillette Farina isn't where you're trying to use Arlecchino to begin with, right? It's just one of the many places she can go. I think Hu Tao probably barely just makes the cut for B. Kogomi should be higher IMO. You are delusional. You guys need to understand, okay, an important part of what Kogomi provides is her healing. And in co-op, there's just too many characters that provide healing. TDS is worthless because you can't get the effect, you can't swap. And so effectively, Kogomi is a character that provides healing you don't need, and worse damage than Singto. 250 EM for everyone should be better. The thing is, EM for everyone doesn't matter in most teams, because everyone isn't triggering reactions in most teams. The only teams where everyone's triggering reactions are the Quicken teams, and the Quicken teams are just not that great in co-op. They're fine, but they're not amazing. So realistically, most of the time, it's just 250 EM to one of your carries. Or, you're playing a Quicken team, which isn't that great. Kogomi on field literally does more damage than Singto. Go see any GC sim. On field, Kogomi does more damage than off field Singto? That's crazy. Yeah, obviously. But guess what? No one on GC sim is doing on field Singto. Why is Quicken not that great, even when you get quadruple right and skill damage? I mean, the thing is, quadruple right and skill... It's not quadruple right and skill damage. It's 2 times the damage for the base motion value and quadruple the aggravates. But, like, she's so bad to begin with that it doesn't even make her better than Chlorine. If the burst damage was impactful, if the other Electro and Dendro characters you play in Quicken were burst carries, maybe Raiden could be better. But they're not. Why is Chevy that high? Chevy teams in general are good, and with C6 Bennett, Cheval's personal damage is also pretty decent. I think Sana gets out DPS by Chlorine? Yeah, he does. He's doing like 2/3 of Chlorine. That's why Chlorine is in C and Sino isn't. Chlorine is generally the best, like, quote-unquote payoff when you want an Electro carry on your team, outside of Reza. But the thing is, just because she's the best available doesn't mean she's particularly good. What about Tiltnari? Tiltnari's kind of just whatever. In co-op on Tiltnari, you spend half your time staring at the enemy. Like, you'll do... Like, he definitely does gain something from co-op. He'll get 1 more charge shot. I guess you can get 2, probably. Yeah, you get 2 more. It's pretty cooked. But maybe it's not that bad. Like, because he's a standard character, you might have cons on him. And if you have his C4, it's a nice little EM buff for the team. Let me pull up the... It was this one, right? Yeah. Let's see how he does instead of Alhaitham in the team as your Dendro payoff. So this is the damage, and it's every 12 seconds. Okay. That's pretty close to Alhaitham, actually. Surprisingly so. Interesting. I guess Alhaitham is kind of dog shit in co-op. The fact you can't swap out means you are forced to do some 1 mirror attacks because you need to wait out your mirrors so that your burst gives you 3 mirrors. It's so hilariously dumb. But we got 6, now we got 5. The 3 free ones plus 2 fully charged ones. Can you check attack sands? Sure. This was 39k. This is also 39k. Attack sands is 70 DPS worse. Pretty similar. What con does Donati need to beat Alhaitham? Oh, does the C6 affect the charge shots that aren't buffed by the skill, too? It does, right? Okay, so his C6 is probably incredible in co-op, isn't it? So you can probably get 4... No, you can get more than 4. Maybe... No, it's gonna be 4. 4 bonus, so it'll be 7 charge shots instead of 5. That makes sense. And we now get 21 reactions instead of 10. 80k DPS. That's actually good. Pretty much doubles DPS from C0 to C6. Kind of a big deal. And that's without accounting for the plus 120 EM on the rest of the team, too. Make sure you pick your big T from Anniversary? Yeah, pretty much. What about C6 Daya? We don't talk about C6 Daya, okay? It's not good. Anyways. Dilnati probably goes in a similar level as Alhaitham. He's a little bit worse, but he's a lot safer. So in practice, it won't be that different for most people. Would attack sands be better at C6? No, you get double the reactions, and you do not get double the attack motion value. EM says it'll be better. From the Alhaitham calc-wise, combines damage equal DPS, it's not. This is 482,000, this is 48,000. It's because Chlorine uses a skill every 10 seconds, so it's divided by 10. So it's the same numbers, but with the decimal bumped up by 1. Okay. What about the other Dendro characters? Baiju goes in not very good. This character is dog shit in co-op. He only buffs himself and his damage is ass. We'll keep Emily and Kinich for later. Because I want to look at the quicken ones first. Kirara, pretty meh. Does she have an AoE shield in co-op? She does. At least there's that. But her damage is pretty worthless. She probably like bottom of here. You need to crash into teammates for... Oh yeah, that's cooked. Oh boy. Oh well. Dendro, Yao Yao. Yao Yao is gonna be pretty bad in co-op. Sure, you get good healing, but who cares? Her damage is ass. Other Dendros. There's Kave. Yeah, no. Kave is gonna be pretty bad. Cole. I don't think Cole has much going for her in co-op, right? You're just gonna end up doing charge attacks. Yeah. Pretty shit. That's it for the Dendro characters, right? Outside of Kinich and Emily, which we're keeping for later. Goose on the loose! Holy shit, she said the thing! She said the thing, chat!